That's why I'm asking you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? This is a standard interview question, actually. మీరు రేపొద్దున ఎక్కడికైనా ఫోర్త్ ఇయర్లో థర్డ్ ఇయర్లో ప్లేస్మెంట్ ఎగ్జామ్ అండ్ సెకండ్ మేబీ యువర్ ఇన్ సిఎంఆర్ యూ ప్రాబ్లీ గెట్ ఇన్ టు దట్ ఫ్రమ్ యువర్ సెకండ్ ఇయర్ ఆల్సో బట్ at least in your third or fourth year, if you come sit down for an interview, people will ask you this question. I'm not asking this as a routine thing. Where do you see yourself? అంటే రెజ్యూమేలో రాస్తాం కదా మనం, ఐఎమ్ హార్డ్ వర్కింగ్, ఐ వాంట్ టు కాంట్రిబ్యూట్ టు ద కంపెనీస్ గ్రోత్, ఐఎమ్ డెడికేటెడ్. మీ నెగిటివ్స్ ఏంటి అంటే నెగిటివ్స్ చెప్పకూడదు అనమాట. అండ్ టూ పంక్చువల్, యూనో ఐమ్ ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్లీ పంక్చువల్. ఇట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ పీసెస్ ఆఫ్ అదర్ పీపుల్. సో ఇట్లా కాదు నేను అడుగుతుంది. వాట్ ఐమ్ ట్రైంగ్ టు ఆస్క్ యూ ఇస్, వాట్ ఈస్ యువర్ గోల్ అండ్ ఆస్పిరేషన్ ఇన్ లైఫ్? And what is the next 5 years that you see yourself? Anybody? Who wants to do a master's? Pursue higher education? Good number. Who wants to, get into a great product company? Very good. Who wants to start their own company? Very good. Very good. Good initiative. Who wants to become the best AI engineer? Who is the next among you who is going to be the top cybersecurity leader and expert? Who wants to develop their own Android applications from day one of their engineering college? Right? Who wants to be the expert in IoT and 5G? Really? Okay. Robotics? Anybody? Who wants to develop their own game? Game designer? Right? Who wants to be the best UI UX designer? All the websites, all the designs that make us, want to log into these pages every day in the morning. These are your goals. And first of all, for the people who lifted the hands, a grand round of applause, because you know what you want. For the people who did not lift hands for anything, there are either two options. If there is something that I have not mentioned, and you know that you are going to do that, amazing. If you have not already thought of what you want to go and do, now it is the time, right? So people who actually raise the hands, you know what you want, your goal is there, that's amazing. Now, how do you go and achieve it? What does it take to become a research expert? What does it take to become an industry expert? What does it take to become an AI or a cybersecurity or a game designer? Whatever these things in life are, what do you think takes? What is the most important thing? Huh? Knowledge. Okay, correct. Huh? Skills, knowledge. Okay. What else? Passion. Somebody says extremely correct. Yeah. Huh? Mindset. I'm going to zero in on that. You remember that. Then what else? Experience, talent, all of these things. Mindset. I'm going to basically catch on to that. What kind of mindset? And this is where I come in and tell you, talent, knowledge, experience all come through practice. You open a book, you read it, you do a project, you gain some experience, you gain some skills. All of that requires hard work, dedication, commitment, and all of these things. Before all of that, if you really want to excel and not just follow, there is something that you need, and that is you need a leadership outlook. Each one of you have to believe, because I believe, have the potential to be a leader in your own field. Okay, a leader for your own life, a leader who leads a community and a team. Without having a leadership outlook, achieving these goals will become difficult. And if you have the leadership outlook, rest all will come. Rest all will come and you will actually position yourself so that you will learn these technologies, you will actually have this hardworking attitude and so on. So what does this leadership outlook basically mean? There are 4 things I put up on the board. These are not the only 4 things that are about leadership outlook. If these 4 things are made. The first one, initiative. Second one, teamwork. Third one, communication. Fourth one, time management. Right? what are these four things and how do you do? It's a very serious thing. Okay, so it might be even boring from the next slide. Okay, so you have to bear with me for the next 1 hour because it's very boring. The next slide, especially, is extremely very serious. Okay, it's about initiative. Okay, very serious. There is an exam at the end of the day. You have to answer. Okay,
Exam.
okay.
Jara
Let
light
me take an
light
example
బంద్ చేస్తే
out of a
బాగుంటుంది
movie that I'm thinking everybody likes.
పర్యటన లేదు
Right? చూసారా అందరు RRR?
yes
So, Alia Bhatt maybe. Right? See, first thing, let us look at this scene. Everybody remembers this scene? What is it about? It's saving a kid, right? Now I'm going to ask you a question. Did anybody tell Ram and Bhim, the characters, to go save the kid? Somebody says Rajmouli, I know that answer is coming. That's not what I meant. Okay? Rajmouli told it to Junior NTR and Ram Charan because they're getting so much money and getting paid. Okay? I'm talking about the characters in the story. Story lo involve deep ga. Okay? So who told them? Nobody told them. Okay? Is it not a risky thing to do? It's a risky thing. There's a train breaking down, there is water and all of those things. But these two people, they took it upon themselves to go and take the first step and go save the kid. Once the kid is in the water, somebody will take him out. Once the kid is in the water in a boat, somebody can do it. But the first step requires a leadership, and one quality it requires about all the most is initiative. Telugulo danni chorava antam. Okay, chorava. Hindilo ఏమంటాం తెలియదు. I'm very bad at Hindi. Okay, so that's initiative. Remember that. Next. To a little serious, can somebody tell me what this is? First rocket from ISRO, right? And they did this in the 1960s where India was barely getting started. Barely getting started. Right? You didn't have these computers and fancy stuff and all of these things. Right? Even transportation was limited. Even all of these things were limited.
ఏడుంది ఎట్లా పని
Then why? Then people really at that point were asking, do we really require satellites? Do we really require rockets? And the amount of money that was available with our country, a country like India, was extremely limited. So the people who led the first team at ISRO, they took their rockets, they built everything, and then they put it on a bullock cart or put it on a cycle and they built everything. Okay? So that kind of independent self-reliance and also the can-do attitude with the first step. Taking the first step, okay, it's fine. There is no rocket launching center. There is no nothing. Nobody, we don't even know how to make these rockets. Let's try. It's okay. Right? So that kind of taking the courage to take the first step is something that we should all learn from. That is what initiative is about. రేపొద్దున మీరు అందరికీ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ వస్తాయి. థర్డ్ ఇయర్ అండ్ ఫోర్త్ ఇయర్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ మెనీ మేజర్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్, రైట్? రైట్? మీ ఇంట్లో కజిన్స్ వీళ్ళందరూ హ్యావ్ దే డన్ దేర్ బీటెక్స్? మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ దెమ్ హ్యావ్ డన్ దేర్ బీటెక్స్, రైట్? Did you ask them how they do their projects? Anybody? So there will come a time when you have to do your major and mini projects. At that time, you might not know all the technology. You might not know your team members. You might not know how to actually go about these things. There is an easy way out. What is the easy way out? Somebody will give you the code, you submit it, you get the marks. What is the hard way out? You sitting down and learning these things and working with your team to make it possible. That is what people at ISRO did. And today, without their satellites and stuff, you don't know the weather, you don't have your GPS, you don't have your agriculture management, when to sow what and so on. That kind of intelligence will be missing without satellites. And today, ISRO is the agency or the space research organization that launches the maximum number of satellites in the world. Other countries also will come to ISRO to get their satellites launched, even including the US and UK and that sort of stuff. So that shows an initiative. When nothing was there, they took the first step and led the way. Come to teamwork. ఇచ్చిన వాళ్ళకి అయితే కంపల్సరీ ఎగ్జామ్ ఉందప్పా. Okay? So my point is not to make fun of these things, but kind of show you these aspects that exist in movies also, so that you'll be able to better understand them. So what is the RRR lo NTR character parenti? Now before RRR, when I say Bhim, what is the kind of Chota Bhim and matram? That is the problem, I think. Yeah, అది కాదు. Remember, and maybe just for this session's purposes, maybe assume that Chota Bhim has never existed. Okay, and tell me, what do you mean by, what do you think when you think of Bhim? Komaram, sure, very good. But normally Bhim is a very strong character, right? In Mahabharata, and he's like one man army, you know, and huh? Not a forest man. No, no, he's not a forest man. So Bhim is supposed to be this very very strong individual person. But in the movie, they portrayed Bhim not as one man army, but as a man who actually has a team. In fact, when he has to do something, he not only has a team of people, he has a team of animals. Okay? The point that I'm trying to make is sometimes you can't, even for your personal goals, when you have come here to a good institution like CMR, okay? It's not that only you did all the work, right? You have your parents to thank for, you have your, all the people who, all the teachers that have been there, you have them to thank for. You have your peers, your friends and your siblings and all of them to thank for. So it's a teamwork, essentially. So the same goes with the ISRO story. I'm taking parallels between these two things so that you might able to see some of these things. So with the ISRO story, it's not like one person did all the work. It was a big team, and essentially there was a team of leaders. Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Homi Baba, KK Sivan, Abdul Kalam. Dr. Abdul Kalam was also a part of that team later on. Okay, of course Satish Dhawan and so on. Do you think everybody has the same viewpoints in this team?
No.
There were a lot of differences. When it came to how to use nuclear energy, there were a lot of differences. When it came to how to build ISRO, there were a lot of differences. Then why did they stay on as a team? Yeah, I know why. Why did they do the team? Huh? They had one goal. That one goal essentially motivated them to put aside some of their differences and build space research for India. Their goal was build space research for India, right? And they did that very successfully, even though they have a lot of differences between themselves. So this is a very bad image. I promise I'll correct it for the next one. But this is supposed to be the Chandrayaan launch, uh, place, right? Can somebody tell me this Chandrayaan 3 or Monne release in the mission parent? Very good. So these missions, when do you think say Aditya L1 was planned? Even before, no? Chandrayaan, for example, I think it was planned a good 8 years in advance. Huh? Aditya was planned 2017, but still 2017 to 2023, it's like 6 years, yeah? 5, 6 years, whatever, right? So why do you think it takes 6 years? Right? Why do some nations, there's this mission called Gaganyaan, right? The one when you send the astronauts into space, it's a very, very prestigious mission for us. అది లాంచ్ చేయాలి మొన్నే యాక్చువల్గా చేయలేదు, పోస్ట్పోన్ చేశారు. That means the time was not enough. Even though you're planning years in advance, time management is essentially planning. It takes all of that. How many teams you have to coordinate? Chandrayaan 2, they planned it for so many years. Was it a pass or a fail? Two was a fail. In the software glitch though, it failed. So even when you plan it so much in advance, it might fail, and that's okay, right? But for it to have the maximum success of chance, you need to plan a lot. Tomorrow you will be doing many things. ఈరోజు మీరు ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్లో వచ్చారు, ఓకే? ఈవెన్ టుడే యూ హ్యావ్ సో మెనీ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ సబ్జెక్ట్స్, రైట్? ఇప్పుడు మీ గోల్స్ అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి. When are you going to start working on these goals?
Third year.
After your second year? After your third year? After your fourth year? After passing out? No, right? You have to start working on them today. How do you plan these 4 years? How do you plan a week? How do you plan a day? That is something you all should start working on, right? And once you are able to plan, you can multitask, you can do multiple things at once, you can achieve all your goals. It's all about time management and planning. And the second thing, communication. I didn't have the time to put on the slide again from RRR. But okay. Can somebody tell me a good example where communication failed in the movie RRR? Huh?
During
Beam?
saving.
No, no, not that.
Uh,
Anybody else? Huh? Okay, possible. But there was one major thing which was a problem miscommunication. What was it? Huh? Ram was? Yeah, Ram. So there is a miscommunication between Ram and Bhim. Okay, in that Ram was in jail and he did not know. Bhim did not know that he was the man who actually saved him. Right? So with that miscommunication, there's a lot that happened, right? There was lot of suffering, there was a lot of delay, and blah blah blah. And because it's a movie, at the end everything is fine. We won't go and watch in the movie theaters, but my point is communication matters a lot. You have to, once you have a teamwork, you really have to talk to your team. You really have to convey what is it that you can do and what you can't do every day or every week or whatever it is. So communication matters a lot to achieve this kind, because once there are goals that we can't do by ourselves, we have to take help of the team to work out. Right? So these are the skills that I really wanted to talk about. So you have these skills. Assume you have these skills, you're working on these skills, and now you're looking at what do you do with these skills. Okay, you are a generative AI engineer. Okay, you are a cybersecurity expert. Okay, you are a UI UX things. Okay, once you have this process, once you are into this process, what is there to look forward, right? So let me just move on, right? There's a lot of, and when I said all of these things, I'm trying to focus on one or two things that are really changing something in our world today, right? What is the thing that you keep hearing about? AI, right? Is everybody talking about this? Have you all used ChatGPT? Anybody who didn't use ChatGPT earlier? Okay, just give it a spin
uses
and you'll know what I'm talking about. Are you able to see what is the kind of potential that AI essentially has? Something like ChatGPT. Has anybody used it to write code? Sure, but it generates the code. No? Yeah. Anybody used it to write a novel or a short story? Cool. Like a leave letter application? Yeah. So many things you are able to do and automate, right? Instead of actually you doing it itself, right? The whole capacity for AI is automated decision making, right? So you have, so let's say every day it's raining, right? Tomorrow, can you say whether it rains or not? With a good certainty. You look up at the clouds, last 4 5 days it rained, tomorrow also there is a cloud, it will rain. Suppose there is no cloud tomorrow morning, what will you say? It will not rain, right? So, this is the kind of decision making, this is the kind of intelligence. You have some data coming in and you are essentially putting it through an intelligence to get out decisions. That is all about AI. It is being used in many places today and it is going to transform all the industries as we know it. Okay, I'll give you an example of how it is going to transform a minute later. So, there is another vertical which is IoT and 5G. Let me ask you this question. Everybody has 4G at least, right? have you ever, as long as the network is good, do you see any buffering in 4G? No, right? I mean, if it is in a bad network area, sure, but I'm not talking in a bad network area. In a good network area, where there's not so much of a traffic, the movies or YouTube, does YouTube buffer? Not so much. Then, are you trying out 5G? Anybody here? What is the kind of speed? Oh, very good. Okay. There's this huge increase in speed, right? Of course. Why is 5G there if you are not buffering in 4G? I think 5G is there because there are so many smart devices. Anybody has a smartwatch, right? Your cars or your, all of these things have small smart devices in them. Okay, small chips which are able to collect data, which are able to connect to each other and talk to each other and do stuff. Right? And then there is a VR and AR. So let me show you a small scenario of what I'm trying to talk about when I say that these are transforming our lives as we know it. Okay, so you're all 17, 18 years, right? Antena? 19 years. Okay, so you're all 17, 18 years. You, let's say you have started working on a project today, and in your second year or so, you develop this smartwatch. Okay, the smartwatch is AI it is AI powered. It's very advanced. It's very cutting edge. You take this smartwatch and give it to your grandparents. Okay, అమ్మమ్మ తాతయ్య కావచ్చు బామ్మ తాతయ్య నానమ్మ తాతయ్య కావచ్చు. Okay, and this smartwatch has a capability of detecting premature heart stroke. Right, before the heart stroke occurs, it is able to detect it, as you, which you can do it with current AI today. So you are in your college, right? You're in your exam or you're in project review, whatever it is. Your mother and father, మీ అమ్మ నాన్నేమో వర్క్లో ఉన్నారు, they have gone away. Your grandparents are there in your home. Suddenly the watch detects an anomaly. It says, oh look, there might be a chance of a heart stroke. It detects 1 hour, 2 hours in advance, right? So this, and then it uses 5G. For detecting, it uses AI because it has to read the patterns, it has to come to a conclusion. Uses the AI to come to a conclusion, then using IoT and 5G without any delay, without any latency, it then calls up and raises an alarm. Okay, your gated community people or your essentially your colony people will know, and a self-driving driverless ambulance will come at your home. Somebody will take your grandmother, and there will be nurses, and so they'll take your grandmother and grandfather into the ambulance. Once they get to the
అంత అడ్వాన్స్ కాలే ఇంకా
hospital, because they have complete patient records, even the genome is sequenced, right? What is the personalized medicine that is required for them? Okay, what is the medicine that will work for them? They'll know in advance with an instant using AI. Okay, and then if there is a surgery that is required, people from around the world will connect in a virtual reality mode. Doctors, they don't need to come to your hospital. They'll connect in a VR AR mode and essentially work on a robotic surgery to get, which is again robotics, which is IoT kind of thing, to get that surgery done. Your grandmother and grandfather go home without any risk, completely happy. My question to you, is this the world that you want to build? Is this the world that you want to be the makers of? Yeah? Do you get the kind of things that are there in this? There is AI in this, there is IoT in this, there is robotics in this. How do you use this kind of technology to essentially help the problems of society? Do you want to be makers of such technology, or do you want to be just the users of such technology? Makers or users?
మేకర్స్
Who wants to be makers here? Very good. Now, ఇక్కడే నేను మీకు ఒకటి చెప్తాను. మీరు ఇక్కడ టెల్ మీ హూ, ఎనీబడి హియర్ ఫ్రమ్, I don't even, is there a mechanical civil? Nothing. CSE AIML, how many are there? Oh, that's like, okay. EC, anybody? There's no triple E or anything, right? Right? So people who are joining EC or people who are joining CSE also, there is a notion, there is an old notion called core and non-core. ఈసీలో కోర్ అంటే ఏంటి? మన చిప్స్ తీసుకొని మనమే సోల్డరింగ్ చేసుకుంటే అయిపోయింది, అది కోర్. దట్స్ నాట్ సంథింగ్ a reality today. Once you have the basic chips and stuff done, that is completely automated today. What do you do next? Take the same example. At Svecha, we are building a drone for to be used by low cost, low income farmers, that they can use the drone to go basically distribute the pesticide and look at the crop. It's a drone, it will fly. Is it an EC project or a CSC project? EC project అనే వాళ్ళు ఏమని చేయదు.
మీకు కావాలి.
It's a both, right? The hardware, the knowledge will come from the electrics and electronics department. The software, which essentially makes the drone fly, okay, is artificial intelligence, is robotics, is reinforcement learning, completely into the computer science domain. ఈ రోజున కోర్ నాన్ కోర్ అనేవి లేవు. యూ టెల్ మీ అ ప్రాజెక్ట్, ఐ బ్రేక్ ఇట్ డౌన్ ఇంటూ వై ఇట్ ఇస్ అ కోర్ అండ్ నాన్ కోర్, రైట్? టుడే ఇట్ రిక్వైర్స్ అన్ ఇంటర్ డిసిప్లినరీ రీసెర్చ్. అందుకని మీ బ్రాంచెస్ కూడా అట్లా వచ్చినాయి. దేర్ ఈస్ అ సిఎస్సి IoT. ఎనీబడి ఫ్రమ్ సిఎస్సి IoT ఆర్ ఆర్ వి నాట్ సిట్టింగ్ విత్ దట్ బ్యాచ్? ఓకే, there is CSC IoT, there is CSC AI. How basically you are working in different areas, interdisciplinary areas. So do not stick to this core or non-core business. Okay, that thinking is outdated. Do not think that way. You'll not be able to do anything with that thinking. That's my major concern. Now, you heard the story of how these can be used. Let me tell you a contrary example of the same smartwatch. So assume you didn't make this smartwatch. You just, because మీరు పాస్ అవుట్ అయిపోయారు, you as first month salary, you take the first month salary, you take a loan, you take an installment or whatever it is, you get 2 smartwatches, buy Apple smartwatches or something, give it to your grandmother and grandfather. Now instead of it raising the alarm to the hospital and whatnot, it will take all of this data. It might even raise alarm, that's fine, but then the first thing that it informs to is the insurance companies. Okay, it will collect all your data and say, oh, this man is prone to heart disease. It won't tell you. Okay, Google knows better what my health problems are than myself. Is it not truth? Am I exaggerating? No, right? Have you all been in the position where you search for a kind of a t-shirt or a dress or whatever it is, and tomorrow or the next hour it appears in Instagram? అందరికీ అయిందేగా ఇది, అవునా కదా? I'm not the special case, right? Now, the same thing, your people are wearing the watch, it's collecting the data. The data is not shared with you, it's shared with an insurance company which will tell you, oh, you have to pay more because you're prone to heart risk. We won't know it is heart risk. The hospital will charge you, okay, because you're in an emotional state, it will charge you whatever it will need. They will use the same AI, they will use the same IoT, they will use the same VR, AR, and all of these advanced technologies to essentially, not work in the favor of society, but basically take out your privacy and demand what they want. Technology is same. That's why I asked whether you want to be makers of it or not. The technology is same. How you use it is different. Which kind of India do you want to build? Which kind of AI do you want to build? The first kind or the second kind? The first kind, right? Now, how do you actually go about and build it?